Right, hello everyone. This is a good opportunity to delve a little deeper into what Parag has said, and it involves us being a little critical of ourselves. It's a great product, we've heard that already, and we should be looking at revision rates about 1% per year. And we have a lot of disappointed people out there. We've talked about that in terms of kneeling and squatting. So we must differentiate these people in terms of their dissatisfaction. They haven't got failed knees, so it's important, and Parag was absolutely right. Not every knee that they're a little bit unhappy with, that doesn't mean it's a failure. It means that we can do better, but it doesn't mean they're a failure. We can do better, and that's the bit where we have to analyze what's gone wrong. We have certainly got rid of some of those historical errors, and that picture I just showed you was from a very long time ago, when the instrumentation systems weren't as good as they are now. So definitely we've got better with our instrumentation. We understand a lot more about our surgical techniques, and our implant design has improved. Our implant design has actually got a lot more tolerant of surgical error, and you can design that into an implant. And so if we have a look at Dave Delurie's work when he looked at why a total knee has been revised today, and it's a big study, 3 separate centers, over 800 patients, looking at why knees failed. And they're a standard group of patients, more females than males. But what they were able to see is that those are our reasons for revision. And instability and malposition, you see I've put in big letters. And the reason is that is surgeon orientated. That's what we did. Now, remember I made the point about aseptic loosening. If we add together instability and malposition, surgeon-related complications for revisions are about 20%, 1 in 5. If we add aseptic loosening, because remember I was critical, anything that fails before 5 years through aseptic loosening is probably your cement technique. So if we add aseptic loosening, we, our surgeons, are responsible for about 40% of the early failures. So that's important to look back. If you're doing a revision of your own, before 5 years, you need to be very critical and say, what did I do wrong here? Was it instability? Was it malposition? Did I not have a great cement technique? You should learn from every single revision you do. You have to classify why the knee failed and move on to learn from that. If we look at late revisions, you can see that instability and malalignment become less important. And as Parag was saying, polywear is more important in that group. But still we have aseptic loosening. Again, something that we can do about, or something we can do something about. And so there's our surgeon-related complications there. And if we add them up, that's about 18%. And so you can see this changing pattern of as we go through early and into late failures, the instability becomes less, but aseptic loosening becomes more, as does polyethylene wear. Infection becomes less, as Parag says. But there's still almost half of the reasons for failure are related to your surgical technique. So early failures are infection and instability and some stiffness. Late failures are the polywear and the osteolysis that follows that. And we can design for that. That's not strictly due to the surgeon. Now, there have been several papers on looking at why knee fails, and we can go back to Sharkey's paper in 2002. So there's a 10-year spread of analysis. And what you can see that actually we seem to be getting a little worse. If you can look at these papers, the rate of aseptic loosening seems to be increasing. Infection, much the same, apart from Hussein's findings there. So if we look at the comparisons, we can see there is a bit of a change, and we've got to be aware of the malposition and aseptic loosening in that. So I think that result from Hussein here, this infection here, is largely spurious, but all 3 papers are telling us roughly the same. So just take from that that in early failures, about 42% of those early failures, the surgeon is a factor. In terms of loosening, malalignment, and instability. So if someone said to you, you can halve your early failures tomorrow by looking at your technique, most people will say, yes, please. So when you go home from this conference, look at your next knee and think, I can halve my early failures by taking attention to what I learned this weekend. So, in terms of the dissatisfaction, we've talked about tibiomechanics and things we can address with with better implant designs and better polyethylene and things for making better alignment. And so, learning from why knee fails, things like sizing issues, better instrument design, better kinematics to prevent wear and osteolysis, and attention to patellofemoral function and cementing technique are all the factors that we can make a difference to as surgeons and as designers. So when you look at the knee, here's a thing to go through. And you say, what is the patient complaining of? Can I see why that is? And what has gone wrong? We need to classify what's gone wrong so we can learn from our mistakes. And more importantly, why has it gone wrong and how do I correct that at revision? And here are, if you like, 8 characteristics, modes of failure that you can put into every knee that you see. And you can decide how this is classified. And the reason you want this classification is the cause of failure will determine how you solve it and your outcome. And the causes you can divide into mechanical and physiological. So taking some of the things that Parag gave us, we can put these characterizations into a mechanical side. We can put these characterizations, the RSD, the stiffness, the sepsis, into the physiological side. What's the importance of that? The importance is that if you have a mechanical failure, and you make a good technical assessment of that, you can make a very successful mechanical or physical revision, and there's a high probability you'll be able to get that patient better. So this looks like a huge disaster, but in fact it's a mechanical problem. So that means you can address that with a successful revision, and the patient will get a good outcome. If you have a physiological cause, like RSD or infection, you may not want to operate at all. You can actually worsen the symptoms. With things like RSD, actually amputation will not resolve the pain. They will still have the pain. So that's the reason we need to take some of Parag's reasons for failure and classify them into mechanical or physiological causes. And what you must do in every case is establish a diagnosis. You must say what went wrong, what is the patient complaining of, and the nature of the pain almost gives it away. I think it's very important what Parag said is that with mechanical pain, with loosening, it's pain when they walk. With instability, it's often night pain and spasms and cramps because they're so unstable. So you can decide from the nature of the pain whether it's mechanical, physiological, or instability. So what I need to say in summary is that there are many reasons why the knees fail. Look very closely at your early failures, because half of those early failures are due to surgical technique, and then decide the reason the knee failed, classify it into mechanical or physiological, and then have a plan for dealing with it. Thank you.